everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Lisa, and for today's video and some upcoming videos, I've decided to do this 30-day of anime challenge that I found on Tumblr, and I figured I can just do it as videos. Looking over the prompts, I feel like some of them I may have to maybe they might not be 30 videos, maybe they might be combined, but I thought this was cool, a cool way to have some new content that isn't dependent on me watching stuff, because while I do watch anime and I'm watching a bunch of stuff at the same time, oftentimes I start watching something and I don't finish it for months. So I figured this type of challenge would be something cool to do. So I'm starting off with the prompt number 1, which is first anime. So my first anime, as many who have listened to my podcast, The Wonder of Anime, make sure you guys check that out, was Sailor Moon. And I love Sailor Moon, and I have loved Sailor Moon ever since. So one of my first memories of Sailor Moon was back in the day. I just remember watching it on the TV, kind of not really knowing everything or what it was, but I remember wanting to watch it all the time. Obviously it didn't come on all the time, so my parents had to kind of get creative and record episodes on VCR, on VHS. And if you're my age or older, you know the struggles that I'm talking about. So that was kind of one of my earliest memories with Sailor Moon. And I remember my parents, we would go to this Kmart. I lived in New York, in Queens, and then in Brooklyn. So I think I was in Brooklyn at this point. We used to go out to Long Island, and we would go to this Kmart. My dad would clean, one of his jobs, he cleaned his bingo hall, and I always have this memory. We would go clean the bingo hall, and then afterwards we would go to the Kmart, and they used to have Sailor Moon dolls, and I would cry, I would beg for my parents to get me these dolls, and they never got me the dolls. Moment of silence for that. But I just always remember wanting that. And then kind of from there started my anime love for Sailor Moon, and realizing that certain cartoons that I was watching were anime. So from Sailor Moon, I went on to watch Pokemon, Digimon, Cardcaptor Sakura, which at the time was just Cardcaptors. And I'm they all have a certain look that the other cartoons that I was watching didn't. Later on, I discovered, that's because they're anime. Duh. But I'm always going to remember Sailor Moon. I would always want to be Sailor Moon, dress up like Sailor Moon. I remember one Halloween when I was in high school, I had a Halloween party, and I went one time to Goodwill, and I found this dress that had the cut of the dress, the top bodice part went into a triangle, kind of I'll put a picture of it, looked very much like Sailor Moon. So I cut the it was a long dress. It was black at the top with this white skirt. I cut the skirt down, and then it was absolutely, I'm gonna put a picture of this because it's absolutely perfect. It kind of the shoulders went down like this, and then with makeup I did the tiara, and I had a bow. So it was this inverse, because it was black and white, obviously. So it was this inverse Sailor Moon. I bought these gloves, these long gloves from a Halloween store, and I was so excited because I had always wanted to dress up like Sailor Moon, and I still do. It's on my cosplay wish list. But yeah, and I think I love, I'm not unique in the experience that Sailor Moon was my first anime. If you listen to the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast, shout out to Victoria. I had her on my podcast. She's amazing, but I love her podcast, and her podcast, she interviews guests who also like Sailor Moon, and they talk about Sailor Moon. And for a lot of people, Sailor Moon was their intro to anime. A lot of people, I will say, in my age group. So 90s to 94, 95, people born within those years, Sailor Moon was their introduction into anime. So it feels really good, being in the Moonies club as Sailor Moon being your first anime. And when I think back to watching Sailor Moon, and now as an adult kind of realizing how badass was it that my introduction to this genre that I love so much was with women, and it was these girls, 14, 15-year-old girls fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight, never running from a real fight. Like, girls, like, they did that. So the fact that, like, growing up, like, that set the standard for me, I feel like in a lot of ways, in what I look for in media, what I look for in life. And it sounds kind of funny to say, but growing up, seeing 5 girls like be aliens and, have fun with each other and do all of these amazing things with powers and cool transformations and like very girly, and like growing up with that and kind of having that, I feel like definitely had like a positive effect on me and like shaped my worldview and shaped the like who I am today, because I consider myself a feminist and I am all about women, and you know me, like, my values. And I think, Sailor Moon has a lot of that. And I know a lot of people, kind of rag on Sailor Moon because of, she was obsessed with Tuxedo Mask, aka Darien. And at the end of the day, like, any big boss fight, anything evil villains, like, it wasn't, Tuxedo Mask will come in, his dumb ass getting kidnapped, his dumb ass getting killed, his dumb ass getting, like, taken to the dark side. So it's like, he wasn't that dependable. So yeah, their love was, like, cute, but really at the end of the day, like, it was Usagi, aka Serena, when I was watching it, the American dub, like, she was the one with her group of friends, and seeing that, like, that's just fucking badass. And I love that that was my introduction into anime. And as I've gotten older, I think I rewatched it maybe like when I was like in college, like my first year, so maybe almost like 10 years ago. I haven't rewatched it, and I know there's a new dub, and I think when I was rewatching it, I was rewatching the sub version, and right now I'm collecting the manga, so it's definitely a series that I want to revisit now with these older eyes. And the one thing about, I feel like when it comes to the sub version, because it's not in a language that I know, I feel like it ages better in a sense, because the dub, the original dub was in the 90s. So there's a lot of 90s references. There's a lot of, a lot of stuff that hasn't aged well because that stuff is no longer relevant. Whereas when you're watching it in Japanese, like, they kind of, if there are references and stuff in Japanese, so, But I definitely want to revisit the series, and I just love it. And I'm so glad that that was, like I said, my intro into anime. And I'm such a loving, I love anime, and I've definitely gone on to watch, and, my love for Cardcaptor Sakura and Magic Knight Ray Earth and all of these series that are women-led and girl, like, that magical girl genre is amazing. And I love that Sailor Moon is like the face of that genre. That was my video, my first anime, and yeah, I love it. What was your first anime? I know that I have a lot of friends now in this anime community that are younger than me, so they don't have the same first anime, and I always find that interesting. What is the anime that got you into anime? I will be posting a link to the picture that was where I got this 30-day of anime challenge. Like I said, I found this on Tumblr, and it was just, I just think it's so fun. So I hope that you join me on doing it too, and we'll be back for day 2.